wonderful day! Showtime, folks. This is a delayed review of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, if you're new to this channel, you could probably tell by the logo that I really like, ape movies and King Kong. Specifically, Andy Serkis's movies, as far as like the Planet of the Apes franchise goes, and the 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong. Those are like my things, and I love them. You know what I mean? So going into Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it was kind of like an unfair kind of rating that we're gonna get right out the gate. But this is my, channel. These are my opinions. So just go into that knowing that I do enjoy the Planet of the Apes, at least the more recent ones. Let's not talk about the ones, the Mark Wahlberg days. It's sorry, not the best. Anyway, I digress. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the newest addition to the franchise of the Planet of the Apes, and it follows the newest character of Noah, who basically is taking the protagonist role from Caesar. So Caesar's Planet of the Apes franchise is a few generations before this, like many generations before this. So this picks up years later down the road, after the apes have pretty much taken over Earth, and now the only humans that remain are pretty primitive. And the story follows the character of Noah as he tries to find his tribe after they are conquered by a different tribe of apes during the beginning of the movie. Now, getting into the pros of this movie. Guys, the CGI in this movie is just amazing. The movie is beautifully shot. It's one of those things where you wonder why more films don't do things this way. I am not exactly sure why motion capture isn't used in more of like in the MCU maybe. I know it's used, okay? I'm not ignorant to the fact that it's used, but there's just something about the budget of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes versus like the bigger budget Marvel movies, where Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes looks a lot better than a lot of the newer Marvel movies. Not to take a kick on Marvel, but it's just one of those things. I've kind of given Marvel a cold shoulder in recent years, so maybe that's not fair, but Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is just beautifully shot, and it's just really, really great. Another pro I have of this is the storytelling. I was a little worried, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever it was announced that Caesar was generations before this, I was a little worried, because like I said, I'm a big fan of Andy Serkis specifically, and knowing that he created a legacy with the character of Caesar and seeing how the storytelling went throughout that trilogy, I was really worried that without him, a lot of this would fall to the wayside. And I know he was a advisor to this film, so that gave me some hope. But the storytelling in this film is still very, very good. It's a character that you're rooting for because it's something that we can all relate to as far as trying to find his family, being isolated, and on the way finding out who Caesar was. They don't just throw Caesar away. If anything, Caesar is actually still a huge part of the story in the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and his name is being used by the villain Proxima Caesar to keep control over the people that are the apes. See, it gets you going. To keep control over the apes that are trying to help him reach his goal. And I don't want to get into spoilers, which is why I try to speak vaguely on it, but the storytelling is still there. And one thing I do want to comment on that I've seen in the Caesar trilogy continued through here is that kind of biblical allegory that you see. Now, for people that don't really study, biblical stories or anything like that, there's still common threads in there that help with the storytelling. It's nothing on the nose. There's nothing overtly religious when it comes to this, and it's not me commenting on religion. But what I do see is parallels in stories from biblical lessons and from even, just other traditions helping push the story forward and little tidbits that help that. And I think that's actually very creative. It's nothing that's on the nose that would be offensive to any viewer, but it's pretty creative how they use that, just the story as it goes, whether you consider it religious or not, how they use that kind of storytelling for the benefit of this film. And I thought that was actually very well done. But while I give it this movie pros, like I always do, I'll give it some cons. I think one of the major cons in this movie is it's not really gonna draw in new fans. It's kind of like something I said about Dune. I get a lot of comments about how I talk about Dune because I'm not a big Dune fan. But to be fair, I've never read the books. I'm not a fan of the characters. I haven't even watched the original Dune. Like, I'm just not a Dune guy. It doesn't draw my attention. But I understand that cinematically, it's very beautiful, and it's one of those things where I can see why people enjoy it. And Planet of the Apes has a similar issue when it comes to Dune. Although I do really enjoy Planet of the Apes as a franchise, at least the more recent ones, this one is not going to draw in the new viewer. You know, it's not going to bring any new Planet of the Apes fans in if they're not already Planet of the Apes fans. I mean, it's just one of those things where if you're a fan of this, you're going to appreciate this a lot more. And if you're interested, you're going to enjoy it. But if you're not interested in ape films or Planet of the Apes or Caesar, you don't even know who I'm talking about, then this new film is not going to really draw you in any kind of sense. And that could be an issue for some people. But other than that, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is actually really, really enjoyable. So, getting on to my ratings. Guys, not only is the storytelling done well, not only are the characters well developed, you have a really good villain, you have very few cons, and then when you think that there's just a kind of straight narrative, little curveballs are thrown. Nothing too drastic that's going to completely shift the landscape of what you've come to know in the movie. But little curveballs are thrown in there that, emphasize the brilliance in this movie. And I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is worth the watch, because Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is a 4 out of 5. Are you not entertained? And the reason you have to ask, are you not entertained? Or why I would have to ask you, are you not entertained? It's because it's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Say his words. Say his words! What a wonderful day!
The apes together are strong now. This is one of those things where when you meet the villain, you're like, okay, this is the new big bad. All right, Kevin Durant does a great job as Proximus Caesar. You believe the story that Noah goes on to kind of liberate his family. You're rooting for him, and you're rooting for him to understand the legacy that Caesar left behind from the Caesar trilogy of the Planet of the Apes. And all of that is done very well. The human characters are literally just in there as if they're primitive. They're just kind of, I think, like a lot of what happens with these Planet of the Apes movies is like you get heavy exposition from the humans, But in this story, it's all the apes now. It's the apes world. So when you get the humans, they're just there to help move the apes story along, Noah's story along. And I think it's done very well. And then the balance is there when it's time for the balance to be there. I just think this is done very well. I think it's worth the watch. I think it's worth your money to go check it out in theaters. But what did you think of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? Have you seen it? Are you planning on seeing it? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Disagree with what I'm saying? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate if you guys are new to the channel to subscribe, because apes together strong. And Chuko's gonna keep talking about the Planet of the Apes and King Kong as long as I'm around, pretty much. And it's like my friend Proximus used to say, that